Yeah, welcome back, everybody. We got another night here at Liberty Libations, and apparently we're doing a good enough job filling in that Jake doesn't need to be here yet again. But Jake, thank you for the reins. We miss you. Glad you trust us with this. And I'm here, as always, with Alden, Hardee, Zane, Placie.
Cheers.
Then we got Zach. He's going to be queuing up the stories and popping in and out here and there. And hopefully we got some folks in the chat. They're going to be participating a little bit. We have a wide range of topics tonight, too. It goes from, fun to serious to we're going to have a little fun tonight.
To more fun, yeah.
Yeah. So, first and foremost,
I
I'm
was just going to ask.
Inner basic B tonight because we have a forecast that's getting down in the 50s now. So it's time for that pumpkin beer, y'all.
I'm down in the 50s.
It's upon us.
Make sure the blood doesn't freeze in your veins.
Right. Gonna go out and salt my driveway.
I'm double fisting tonight. I got a Negroni and an IPA, so I'm prepared for anything.
Yeah.
I have a cider from Nashville.
Right on.
It's pretty
That's
good.
cool.
Okay.
I haven't tried them yet.
I wish I could say I've got something really exotic tonight, but I've just got a Corona Extra, so...
Oh,
It
no
works.
fruit concentrate?
Extra.
No, not tonight.
Yeah. What was it you were drinking last week that had like chlorophyll and I forget.
It was orange juice concentrate with like chocolate liqueur and
Oh yeah.
liqueur
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it made not
and
the
tequila.
best color.
think.
Yeah.
It looked like
Awesome.
a puddle, but it tasted good. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All
I
right,
think
so
that
yeah,
went
we kind
style.
of missed the story last week, but as such, we waited a little bit longer, so now we have some data on it, some more stories to share. Liberty safes apparently don't support liberty. So they're hoping the FBI sees customers' gun safe contents without a court order. So we've talked about this before with cell phone companies, like Verizon with their super cookies, AT&T just totally rolling over, not asking for a subpoena, any kind of court issued anything. Just someone with a badge or with an official sounding voice and a clipboard just asks for something. The Ring doorbells, hey, well, just turn that over. The Alexa machines, they are listening to you. Your TV is watching you back. And now
The
we
Ring
know
doorbell, they turned it over on like hearsay. It wasn't
Yeah.
even, it was really bad, that case.
Yeah, like they called the police. Like, hey, we heard you're looking for this. We might have something.
Yeah.
So, so now we have the Liberty unsafe, apparently. Let's see here. What exactly does the story say? I don't remember all the details of this. Honestly, this is one that I caught because of the memes.
It was connected to January 6th. Like the feds were raiding some guy for being there. And then I guess they mentioned, I don't know how it got out, but they mentioned that they also called Liberty Safe, just asked for the passcode, and they gave it to them. Which, why do they have it to begin with?
I was just going to ask that, like, why that works, like, on more of the, app things, like having the back door. I get, like, how that works, but, like, a physical safe, is it, like, a digital pad that has, like, always a back door kind of thing, or did they know the person's code that they set and why?
Well, according to the memes I've read, apparently Liberty has backdoor codes programmed into all their safes.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
There's like an administrative admin,
right?
Some kind of override code that just lets you in.
1, 2,
And I
3,
guarantee,
4.
Yeah.
probably.
Admin.
They're probably not the only ones with that code either. It takes like one bad guy to figure it out, and then all the bad guys know it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. And whoever has this passcode at Liberty, do they send emails? Were they trained in cybersecurity, at least moderately? Are they susceptible to a phishing or a whaling or a harpooning scam of some sort?
So what you're saying is, if you want to put something in a safe, get an old safe.
Analog.
Yeah.
The
With a
ones where you
key.
gotta twist it one way, another way, and then another way again, and then flip the
Yeah.
switch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big
A
high
comically
school
long
locker.
skeleton key.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Or you can just bury money in the backyard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bury gold in like a ammo tin, Yeah.
Jeez.
Ron
That's
Swanson
wild.
style.
Well, I also didn't get the proper shout out at the intro too. This show is put on by the Libertarian Party of Georgia, lpgeorgia.com. I know we've got the the Liberty Pub Crawl coming up in Savannah. What is that, on the 30th?
Yeah.
Yep, 30th.
There we go. So it'll be Saturday the 30th. It's a pub crawl. It's a meet and greet. It's a networking event, and it's also a chance to show off some kind of costume, some kind of face masking device, because it's pushing back on Big Brother a little bit. The surveillance has gone a little too far. So there's going to be various fashion statements you can make that make you harder to track and recognize by these cameras.
Yeah,
There's some wild
I think
ones.
we will have stuff on the store in the next few days. That's anti-surveillance clothing. Will be on the lpgeorgia.com store.
That's cool.
I'm not seeing it up yet. Oh no, here it is. I'll share. So, real quick. Sorry, you guys are just gonna have to talk while I'm messing with stuff too, because
There we go.
again,
Oh,
No
kinda
worries.
slow.
Oh, here we go. The plot thickens. So apparently Liberty Safe's parent company is a major Democrat donor.
Hmm.
ugh.
You wouldn't think.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that
so
bad
here's
for
kind of
branding?
an example of some of the stuff people will be wearing at the Banished Big Brother pub crawl. Oops. It's like these weird shirts that kind of will fool
It's-
facial recognition.
Really creepy.
I'm getting
Yeah.
some major AI art vibes from this.
Maybe. Probably.
I think
This
I
was
would
made
prefer
by
just an
Daniel
invisibility
McGee.
cloak.
The bag is kind of funny. I like that. And there's others too. Maybe we'll have more on here soon, but there's ones with like license plates
Mhm.
and then just, weird patterns that confuse cameras and stuff. So, that'll definitely get some attention while we're on this pub crawl. So it's not just about fun, but it's about, activism.
Absolutely. So I don't know. In the long run, are we training the AI to be smarter? Maybe. But at least for now, it's fun to trick it. We're going to
I
run
always
circles
think of
around it
that.
while we
Here,
can.
I can say something.
Oh, Nick.
That stuff looks really sweet, and I'm gonna buy some. I think. So I'll buy
All
something.
right.
Support the party.
Yeah.
And,
So aside from the Liberty, Nick, you're really quiet.
Yeah, Nick, your levels are low.
let me-
Suha says, I challenge Zane not to say the word malinvestment once during the podcast today. I know it's hard, but doing hard things are necessary in life.
Oh man. And we
Do you
got some stuff
accept that
coming up.
challenge,
It's gonna be
Zane,
tempting.
or
Hey, Suhas, I have a reputation to maintain.
My level's better now, Alden, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm being quiet. All right.
you're good?
All right, y'all. Let's get into the
So screw Liberty Safes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think all there is to that one is screw them. Don't buy a Liberty Safe.
Dude,
Maybe
who-
don't
who
buy
would
a
have thought
safe
the
of-
safe called Liberty is is the one you can
Yeah.
trust, right?
Absolute
Exactly.
oxymoron there, because they don't support liberty, and your stuff is not safe with them.
No
I would
part of that
suspect
word.
that boycotts are most effective when your entire audience is libertarians who are
Yeah.
extremely willing and interested to do the research on you. If there's one sort of company that should probably not engage in activity like that, it's companies that sell exclusively to libertarians.
Right.
They're donating apparently to the Democratic Party. Maybe they're trying to make a shift here, like a brand shift, an audience shift. I don't know. It's a
Well, I
big
know certain
segue.
companies like that. Anything that's kind of associated with firearms as well. The things that are, if you're in political kind of retail, you tend to make donations to both parties.
Oh, right. Hedge the bets kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Another reason why a two-party system is a whole lot easier for making calls like that, because it's hard to hedge your bets. If you have 7 parties, it's a lot to pay off. So.
Oh, exactly. That's so. It all depends on who's in charge in your home state. Where are your headquarters? Who do you really have to pay to keep things flowing? Because if it's a Democrat senator, you get a Democrat governor, and they don't like you, or they think that you're marketing to the J6 type guys. Well, now all of a sudden you got to pay up to the campaign, or they're going to have you audited. They're going to have you investigated. They can have your life miserable if they want to. And that goes for both sides. Republicans do that too. So it's not just one side of the
That's
aisle.
the whole
Companies.
thing, about the two-sided is it's too easy to pay off both sides, and both sides play the same game. And anyway, we can We can move on to more fun stuff, I guess. But
If only we had a three-party system where we could also get in on the action, I might be okay with that.
Right? Yeah.
Or
Who's
just
gonna
the
bribe
one-party
me?
system where it's just us. I don't really
Or
care about like the fairness choice. I just care about my correct ideas being the ones that I live by.
How about a 6 billion party system where it's all of us individually?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal, right?
That's the no party system ultimately. Yeah.
All right. So let's get into the
You know,
fun stuff here.
One thing they can't keep safe: news of aliens.
Yes. So this is something that came out of Peru. Now we know stuff has been coming out of this area of Peru. I forget exactly where it is, but this one spot where the stuff came from.
Isn't this like the Nazca Plateau area or something? Or?
Yeah. It's been a treasure trove of this
Indiana
kind of stuff
Jones
for a while.
ran into all the crystal skull aliens and.
Oh yeah.
What a terrible movie, right?
I didn't even watch the new one yet.
I haven't watched the new one either.
I heard it bombed. Nobody.
Yes, it got beat out by Sound of Freedom. Massively.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
I like how the New York Times here has to add experts scoffed. Like
Experts.
Yeah, all those experts in mummified aliens, they're just not
Right.
buying it.
Exactly how does one become an expert in mummified aliens? What kind of training do you have to undergo? And then how many mummified aliens are there that you're an expert in these?
That's fair questions.
Golly. But what makes this unique is that flesh is still attached. They were actually able to get DNA samples and determine that they don't know what the heck it is, but it's sort of human.
Is this the one that was like 98% human DNA or something in that range, 97.5 or something? One of them that came out of that area was like in that like 98 range.
What I've been hearing is they're saying that it's 70-something% unknown DNA.
Oh, that's different.
I did not fact check that at all, but
I think the one that I knew of was like 97% like primate based like humanoid DNA and then 3% like unknown or something. So that's very different than whatever this is.
Well, the fact that they're saying that it's DNA at all is a little bit suspicious anyway, because if we are saying that life has evolved on a planet other than Earth, then what's the likelihood that the base of that life would be DNA instead of some other kind of molecule?
Well,
So
I mean, as far as the chemistry goes, like it's either carbon or I believe silicon also kind of could theoretically be in the same thing. But I mean, I would think that the carbon-based life form with DNA would something like DNA would be fairly common if there's other life out there in the universe.
Well, Zane's point highlights a couple of like assumptions about this, and like one is assuming it's an alien not of Earth. You know, it truly is an assumption to say that it isn't from Earth.
Right, it came through a portal.
Yeah, it could be from another time or dimension or what. Who knows, man? But
they got MH370
longer than us.
We got their mummies.
Yeah, who knows? But then, you know, it's either that you're assuming it's not from Earth, you know, or you're assuming that something not from Earth then has DNA like something from Earth or whatever. So interesting, just to
And so if it has DNA, are we really tied together? You know, that would be the whole theory that we're all just made of stardust.
Yeah, or is this like a hybrid? You know, the whole like hybrid theory that like we are like, you know, a mix between like primates and some other kind of like alien race anyway or whatever.
It's just some of us have the rhesus factor and some of us don't. Yeah,
that's what I was going to get into, is the negative rhesus factor. Yeah, which is super interesting that it developed later, honestly, in the, you know, human genetic timeline, but you removed a thing that's usually like unprecedented in terms of how DNA works. Is usually you keep adding like a line of code, you just keep adding down, and sometimes you add something that phenotypically will kind of make something look like it's been removed, but it's like the whale still has like in its flipper, it still has the little, you know, fingernail still in there somewhere, you know, that kind of thing. And so for it to be gone is really unprecedented genetically. And it's the only factor that really separates races among humans, because without medical intervention, it's almost impossible to breed past one offspring if you have a female that's negative and a male donor. But anyway,
Yeah.
so it's truly the only thing that you could really make the case that there are two different human races is maybe based on this, because you can't breed just willy-nilly.
Yeah, the
Does one of those races? Does one of those races have slit pupils and drink adrenochrome, or?
Now those are aliens.
I have. Do any of you guys have negative blood type? Just out of curiosity, I'm a.
I have
A
no idea
group.
what mine is.
You don't know? Yeah.
I don't know
I did
what
a
mine
test.
is.
I'm pretty sure I have the Reese's factor, which is I like to eat peanut butter cups.
Yeah. You got the sweet tooth. You got the Reese's factor positive. Yeah.
Take a lap.
No, I did a test one time because I kind of stumbled on like online groups that were like talking about negative blood type and different traits, and I was like, oh, that's weird, I have that, and like, oh, I just thought that was coincidence and whatever, and like being sensitive to things, and like I can only use certain kinds of soaps, like I'm really sensitive to that kind of stuff. I can't wear like a watch. The battery always dies on my watches. I just got tired of buying watch batteries, so I don't wear a watch anymore. And I found groups of people that were like, oh yeah, this is like well known that this happens within like negative blood type groups. And I was like, whoa. Anyway, what's that?
The power to drain watch batteries.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't wear
exactly.
them. Yeah, they last
I've
like
heard
a
the
month.
blood type diet too. That was, I don't know how much of it was a fad and how much of it was actually based in science, but
Oh no, yeah.
that was a big thing that went through, my whole friends and family a few years ago was,
Right.
oh, based on my blood type, I can't have nightshades.
Yeah,
Stuff.
that's what I'm not supposed to have, and I eat the hell out of peppers, so I don't follow it well. But yeah, but that's what it says I'm not supposed to have, is like the nightshade family, which peppers are part of or whatever.
Well,
but
I technically, I don't think any of us are, because they're full of what is it, lectins?
It's the skins and the seeds, which is why if you look at a lot of like native peoples, they would roast the skins until they char off, and they would pull the seeds out because the flesh of it is fine. But that's where like most of those particles that are indigestible or like carcinogenic or whatever in the skins and seeds.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, this stuff down in Peru, we've seen guys like L.A. Marzulli, Steve Quayle, they've been down in Peru for decades.
Yeah.
Pulling aliens out of the ground. We got the Atacama humanoid?
The like elongated skull.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's like, what, 1.5 feet, 2 feet tall? It's like the size of a Christmas nutcracker.
Yeah, and then they say that the skull has like been modified by putting like bands on it when an infant is born, and they do that too. But there are some that the different like fissure lines and the different plates on the skull are totally different. Where the brainstem connects is in a totally different angle and everything. And it's things that if you were to modify that, you would kill the infant. Like there's no way to do it. Anyway, so the argument is that it's artificially created by like wrapping the head of an infant. But
there it is.
Yeah, and I kind of with photos and things like that, like I don't know about this one particular one, you know what I mean? But there's been skulls that are more like full-size human size that have been found that are in like museums and stuff. This is the tiny little guy, right?
I mean,
this one's like a couple inches, I think.
This looks so fake. It's like, what are the chances that actual aliens would look exactly how we depicted them in cartoons?
In MIB, yeah.
Maybe the cartoons came from the actual aliens, Zane.
Right.
There we go.
That's a fair point.
Maybe
was
we had
meeting with
seen
the
the
aliens at
aliens
Wright
long
Patterson.
ago. Yeah.
It's a fair point,
Right.
too.
Eisenhower.
I think we
met
could
with the
say
aliens at
Zane's
Wright
in the camp
Patterson.
that a mummified alien degree from University of Phoenix online is a malinvestment.
Zane scoffed.
Zane scoffs like, yeah.
That's a degree that you would only get in a low interest rate environment. That's for sure.
Well, and that ties into the whole theory too. Just talking about the skull shape and the head and the wrapping. You've got the animist tribes over in some parts of Africa, and of course, the Egyptians with you see their hieroglyphs and how they're shaped, and that's the belief is that some of these alien races were here for the ancient humans, and they were trying to mimic them because they worship them in a sense because they were smarter and better supposedly. And so that's why, we got to start wrapping our skull to elongate our head to make us look like them. So we'll be, we'll fit in with the cool crowd kind of thing.
Yeah, and some of the skulls that they find are that, and they are from people that have had that wrapped when they were infants, but you can tell the difference because the skulls have genetic differences,
Right. And that's, you see like the, they're calling them hobbits, some of these pre-Neanderthal, I don't know what they're even calling them. It's not Homo erectus.
I only know hobbit as a term, but I don't know the scientific name of that like particular species or whatever that was found in like Indonesia or Papua New Zealand or something.
They're like 10, 20,000 years old.
What is it?
Homo florensis.
Is that right?
In like Malaysia or Papua New Guinea or whatever, the tiny little hobbit. Yeah, I believe that's Homo florensis.
Okay. And even around New Zealand, I think they found some of them. And those, I mean, it looks like this thing was repeatedly hitting the head with a hammer. I mean, they're just short and stubby and flat. And it's really interesting if you get into that whole theory. I don't know. I want to believe, I really do. But just like what Zane said, that Atacama humanoid, like someone sewed some cockroaches together, oh, look at this.
Someone melted a fig Newton around some chicken bones or something.
I saw a meme today. It said, I wanted to believe until the government told me they were real. And that's about where I'm at on this.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm most skeptical like
the UFOs. So like Tom DeLonge with Blink-182, he comes out, he's got his Academy of the Stars, and apparently he's a legit researcher in this stuff. He's actually respected by, guys that are in that community already.
And half of them thinks he's a nut job. So, or
but either way, and then you got what was the Tic Tac spaceship? What was his name? Jeremy Corbell or something like that?
Corbell's the filmmaker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lou Elizondo, is that the guy you're talking about? Or
I don't trust whoever got the Pentagon to admit that the Tic Tac spacecraft was unknown to them and they couldn't explain it. It was an unknown phenomenon. How it ran circles around our greatest jets at the time.
Was this the guy that was on like Lex? Was this the guy that was on Lex Friedman telling this story, or
he was on Rogan as well? And then he had, right after that, he had documentaries that came out, I think, on Netflix and History Channel. But so Jeremy, guys like this are coming out of the woodwork, right? And they're doing all this disclosure. We're pushing for disclosure, and you're seeing more and more, UFO sightings. But I got to tell you though, if you see the triangular shaped UFO with that one circular light at the bottom of it, that's called the TR-3B. That is our spacecraft. Our military developed that guy.
I legitimately think that we have craft that we've developed. The question is like, did we develop it based on something else that was, not ours originally, or did we just kind of come up with it, out of thin air or whatever? But
if you read Phil Corso's book, The Day After Roswell, that's what he details. He was saying that was basically his whole career in the Army, and he was a lieutenant colonel when he retired.
Right.
He was there at the Roswell crash, and it was his job to monitor various private sector entities along the way. And that once they got to a certain point where they were running parallel to one of his technologies, then he would just go privately meet with one of them and then have them discover it.
And then you had the government denying it for decades. And then all of a sudden now the government's like, wait, no, we recovered it. It wasn't just, aluminum foil or whatever. But then that makes me weird again, when all of a sudden 70 years later, the people that were denying it have an angle, and then I question their angle and their timing in terms of why now and what they're saying.
Have y'all seen the recent footage though of someone walking around Times Square, or not Times Square, but New York City with a cell phone in the late 1920s?
This is right.
New York City. I saw a photo of a dude dressed like modern day with sunglasses on, back to the early 1900s.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that photo too. It looks like someone coming right out of like 2010 or something, and the photo is from the 1940s. But
when I saw the video,
if you look at each individual piece of his clothing, it's all things that you could actually wear in the 40s. It's just it was rare that it would be worn in that combination to make him look.
He was
like
a hipster.
2010s.
He was a 40s hipster. He's just trend-setting. He was just 70 years ahead of his time or whatever. But
there you go. Probably find that
photo.
I'm sure you could easily, yeah.
I saw a video, and there was a female walking around some heavily
it a
populated
deep fake?
metropolitan area, and she's carrying a phone. Everyone's staring at her all weird. It's like, what are you holding to your head?
Was it a deep fake or was it or was it real?
Who knows? But we do know cell phones existed in Vietnam. And we didn't
Yeah, there
get them
he
for
is.
consumer retail.
Like t-shirt while everyone else is wearing collared shirts and top hats, and he's got sunglasses and
He's got like the blue blockers, like the old man style, like sunglasses. It's kind of weird.
yeah, and he's got like a modern day haircut, and it really looks weird. And you
It's odd
can see
enough.
a camera in his hand.
But I wouldn't build an argument around it. But it's interesting.
No, that
It's
definitely
odd.
shocked. But I was just saying that to just say that we know that certain technologies have existed, at least on the government and the military level, at least 20 years before the public is brought into the fold.
Yeah.
They learn how to tax it, track it, and trace it before they give it to us.
A watered down version, usually, even too, like
Right.
that we get.
Vietnam. I mean, we had cell phones. It was on a backpack.
Yeah, you had to
was a
wind
cell
it,
phone.
and yeah, right. It weighed 70 pounds, but you could call.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't until almost 20 years later people were carrying around that briefcase-looking thing in their car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how it was called, a mobile phone.
Mm-hmm.
Got a mobile phone.
Yeah, I've heard kind of a similar point being made in regards to like AI technology, which is it's pretty popular now to press the panic button and be like, oh no, if we don't stop AI development, the whole world's going to end. It's going to turn the entire universe
Skynet
into and whatever. But this misses the point that the government already has AI and it's going to use it to do all the evil stuff. So we may as well use it to do all of the good stuff that it can also do. Otherwise, we'll just get the bad stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Because I remember, it was like 2010, 2012-ish, something like that. The U.S. Air Force had, I think it was several hundred PlayStation 3s, had them daisy chained together.
Yeah.
And it had AI that had already learned like 10 or 15 languages. It had the whole encyclopedia in it, and it would actually carry on conversations with you.
They could like launch a missile from these and various other things, and I remember that whole thing.
Well, this is like the first two generations of PlayStation 3s where you could partition the hard drive and install Linux on it and actually have a badass home PC for $500.
Yeah, they fixed that quick. Yeah.
Yes, they forced that update down the pipes, and the Air Force was like, "Bro, you owe me $12 million." Something like that. You just scrapped an AI project that was a decade in the making.
Yeah, because weren't they like networking a bunch of those together and turning them into
hundreds of them? It was, I think it was over 1,000. They had daisy chained.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
a lot of the times the console, the actual like equipment that you get in a console is sometimes better than for the price that you can get in a PC. It only just does more specific functions. But if you can sort of parlay that into doing the function that you want, then it's actually, for the money, really good equipment.
They take a loss on them sometimes. Like they know if you buy it, you're going to buy a couple $60, $70 games and they'll make their money there because that costs them almost nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the game development does, but not the disc or whatever. But
no, you're right. The consoles are usually for the first couple of years when they're out, given all the cost of like development and everything, and they usually are like at cost or less. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I dropped a lot of money in the Sony market.
Yeah.
It was just so easy because that was, we didn't have Roku boxes, and it was I can just log in on my PlayStation 3 and rent movies. This is awesome.
Do everything on it. Yeah. I had one Xbox. I had a 360 because I was like obsessed with Halo at the time, but it was such a piece of garbage. I had to do the whole towel method like every other week with the red ring of death and all that, and I said never again. But it was garbage.
Oh yeah. So what else did they find about these remains down in Peru? Because I know there was still flesh attached, and I saw something about eggs in one story.
Oh, the X-ray thing where they had like the 3 round things in it that they said maybe were eggs or whatever.
Yeah, so they had like 3 long fingers. This is how they differed from us. So that they were saying that it had DNA, but it was so much different from normal human DNA. But it had 3 long fingers.
Is this the one that was all like he was like sitting like wrapping his knees, like a different position one or whatever? Because that's the one that I think that I saw that was they were saying that was like 97% primate-like DNA was like that one. It wasn't even, I don't even think it was human, actually, that they said. And then 3% unknown was what it was. They didn't even have any idea what the other, like, 2.5% was. But I think that was that one that I saw. So that was like the more recent. Oh, it's still not even the one that I saw.
We're
Sorry.
now on to the really good sources like express.co.uk.
Oh yes.
Yeah, if you want to talk about well sourced sources. Gaia.com.
Oh yeah.
So the eggs were
that's
still
the
in
world's
the
premier
little
resource
guys.
for yoga and yoga materials.
Gaia.
Yes. I
Wait.
binge watched all the David Wilcock stuff on that back in the day.
Scroll down to the next image there.
Oh my, so many things popping up.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I think that's about it on here.
Okay.
It's just showing this body.
Okay, so it
and
shows the
that
X-ray, and it's like, what is that? Around the pelvic area. Is that
Yeah.
eggs? Like, is that how it reproduces? Is that just some kind
But
of
the-
anomaly in the X-ray?
But the next photo down is a different one, I thought. A different mummy. Yeah, see, this is the
Yeah, I
one
think-
that I saw. This is the guy that's like
Okay.
wrapping himself or whatever. That's a different one.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he's bigger.
When
He's
are
like
these from? Well, this is from 2017.
Is
Okay.
it?
This one is. So I opened it in a different tab. Sorry. And then yeah, 2017. So I think
These
some of
kind of
these
things
old
been
ones were
floating
straight
out
up
there for a
hoaxes.
while.
But
I don't know,
yeah.
these stories have been floating around for a while though. So
Mm.
it's hard
Well, it's
to
just
know
odd
what's
that the new
real.
mummies look just like this thing.
Yeah.
If this is a massive elaborate hoax, and then we got, hey, here's something identical. This is new, or is it?
Yeah. I'm always like skeptical when it comes to the actual like photos and evidence and mummies and things like that until I just like wait or whatever. But I'm someone that believes that it's possible. Like I'm not saying I don't believe that it's possible. I'm just always skeptical of like when someone brings physical evidence, I'm always like, is it though? I don't know.
Right. Well, and that's like what is it? The Lovelock Caves, in the 1920s in Utah. They found some
Lovelock?
giants.
Oh yeah, okay.
The
Yeah,
giants
lots
were
of
still
spots
sitting on the
like
throne, still had red hair attached to their skulls. But the Smithsonian came in and
And
confiscated
then
everything.
leaves and then says, "Oh, well, when we got it back to, DC or whatever and looked at it, we found that it was a hoax," but then never releases it and never lets anyone see it again and whatever. And does this hundreds of times over different sites.
And then
Right.
There's
then
a,
giants, then it's gonna go to Nephilim and everything else.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
There was a guy that was on Rogan and he was talking about that there was like a Lincoln quote where he was like visiting what is it, Niagara Falls or whatever, and in his journal that day he like wrote that the race of giants in North America that like lived with the mound people or whatever have also like laid eyes on this same waterfall in some poetic way or whatever. But anyway, he was talking about Lincoln apparently acknowledged that giants lived in the continent or whatever. Like,
Well, he was almost 7 feet tall. I mean, he was.
yeah, he was maybe a giant himself.
Yeah, he was halfway there. It was one of his uncles.
The giant talk is definitely interesting. It's there's a lot of weird stuff, and Big Smithsonian is always.
Yeah, I changed my tune on Smithsonian from when I was like a wee tot to now. They're very different in my eyes today, but
Oh yeah, well, and it's pretty odd too when you finally grow up and realize that all the dinosaur skeletons you see in any museum are not actual fossils; they're plastic reproductions.
yeah, I don't know what percentage of it, if it's truly all, but I think most are reproductions.
Or if they do show you anything, it's like half a metacarpal.
Yeah,
Look at that!
they're like, here,
That's
this
so
little,
authentic.
yeah. Yeah,
Here's
but who can say?
quote from Lincoln. It says, "The eyes of that species of extinct giants whose bones fill the mounds of America have gazed on Niagara as ours do now."
There you go.
And that is from
Good job, Jamie.
some transcribed book. He wrote that down, I guess.
Okay.
When he's talking about mounds, is he talking about like the Snake Mound in Ohio, the mound builders in Louisiana, or
Yeah.
Well,
there was
weirdly,
mound
mounds is
builders.
capitalized too. It's mounds,
Oh.
capital M.
So it's the
Hmm.
candy bar.
Missouri? Then
Yeah, exactly. Candy bar. So he likes coconut and almonds. We know that for
yeah.
sure now.
Right. We
Is
can put that
why
one to
he-
rest.
Is that why he
But yeah, we
started
got-
the war?
What is it? It's Oklahoma and Ohio have the weird burial mounds, right? The
Ohio
big,
has
too long.
Ohio has
Ohio's the serpent.
the serpent one. And
Yeah.
then, I believe it's in like Missouri. It's along the Mississippi River Valley further down there. I think there was like a whole civilization that they kind of say predated like the Native Americans we know in that area.
Yeah.
And then down Louisiana, there
Oh, wait,
that was like
a Dutch person, right? That they say like the Dutch or some Dutch explorer came way before that. I know that because Elizabeth Gallimore told me all about it, and I think that's in a book she's writing, where there's some like they think really, really early European that might have come there, and that was behind some of the leprechaun myths. But,
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know about that angle of it, but I know there's mounds everywhere, and there's even in Florida there's kind of a similar thing where I think it's like the Timucuan or Timucuan or whatever, they would build mounds, but out of like seashells that they ate or whatever, and so they had their own mound system going there. They're all over the place.
Wow.
Shane claims that Shane Hazel, former governor candidate for Georgia, claims he's got a spot up in the North Georgia mountains where some traces of an ancient civilization.
I mean,
hidden off in the woods. He said he's tried to buy the land out from under the guy who owns it because he wants to.
Well, there's been some big national stories in the last few years of North Georgia mountains being home to like ancient, Aztec or Incan ruins or something like that.
Yeah, I think Shane's claiming
he knows sense because we're like 4,000 miles from, to make that trek. They're like, how did they do that?
There's actually
have to get Shane back on here to at some point and have him explain what he found up there.
I think it's the Appalachians. One are the like oldest mountain range in the world, and two, that's why they're so like rounded and weathered because they've been around longer. So they're not just, jagged.
And also if you trace the mountain range, it goes all the way up through Scotland. Like the Scottish Highlands are.
Oh, interesting. Like connected the same
curve
rock.
Up there. Yeah,
wow. That's interesting.
I saw that come up on a post and I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, if that was in that position, then it would have been in line with it.
Well, hey, that would explain our earthquakes recently, because we're apparently on a fault line.
They also, I think, in the Appalachians, they have found things that have been like Hebrew writing and menorah little drawings and things like that, like shouldn't be there, basically. And then when people go back to the same sites and like go to bring with more funding and like do a full thing there, a lot of them are like all crossed out and like etched out, and there's been some weirdness about like the Appalachians, actually. Not just the Appalachians, but there's been like sort of like defamation of not like cave paintings, but like paleo. What's the term for like a rock drawing? Lithograph or litho? Yeah. Anyway, there's
pictographs and
litho is rock, I think. Like yeah.
There's like two versions, whether it was like etched in or painted on. Two different words, and I can't remember what's what, but
either way, the ones that really stand out, that like from a culture that shouldn't be there, if it looks like Hebrew or Egyptian hieroglyphs, then a lot of the times they're vandalized before they can get back with more funding for like a proper dig or whatever. Anyway, just a message.
There's also like the Mammoth Cave system in Kentucky.
Yeah,
that just runs forever. Like half of Kentucky is just under this. Half this cave is under just.
I think it's the longest in the world.
The largest cave system in the world.
Yeah,
well, there's one
Kentucky is hollow.
Pretty big too.
Say
the Earth's hollow.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
no, just Kentucky.
Kentucky's hollow. Hollow Kentucky theory. Yeah.
The state or the people.
That's how you get to Agartha, right?
There's a Kentucky-shaped hole in the earth that just goes all the way down into the middle.
Yeah.
Might be onto something, Zane.
Yeah, there
you should make fun of Kentucky if it gave us Thomas Massey.
And Rand Paul.
Yeah, I know there's a big cave in Vietnam.
Ron Paul gave us Rand Paul.
Yeah.
Say what, Steven?
I said, I know there's a big cave in Vietnam too. That's a couple miles down and several miles across. And
there's a
is that the one that all the kids got trapped in a couple of years ago?
I think so.
There's
that was
seriously
Thailand or Malaysia. That wasn't Vietnam. And
yeah, you're
hilarious right. Because that was when Elon Musk just called that one dude a pedo and got sued for defamation.
I don't remember that.
Just out of nowhere, he's like, "Yeah, that guy's a pedo."
I don't remember that, but
you don't remember that happening? Oh,
no,
hilarious. The dude's like, "I'm gonna sue you for that. You can't."
Yeah, this is the cave in Vietnam, this Song Dune. And then it says it has underground rivers in the cave. There's rivers. So
I think it was China.
I was watching this guy. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I was watching this documentary recently, and there was a guy that he was going in this really narrow crevice, and there was areas where he was having to go, several hundred meters, and then make a descent, and he's having to stop and take breaks here and there, and like try to center himself and not freak out because he's also holding the camera.
If Jake were here, he would ding you as being a Fed for using meters.
I felt gross saying it. Yeah.
I mean, it took place where they use meters. I'll let it slide.
Yeah.
But Ron Swanson disapproves, though.
So that's what's not up for debate, though. Is there's definitely a whole lot of our planet that has not been explored yet. There's history we haven't uncovered yet.
Isn't it like 2% of the oceans or less have been explored?
Right. And I mean, I'm not going to go full Graham Hancock on you. I don't know. We might. But
there's time.
There's definitely evidence of cataclysmic events, extinction level cataclysmic events, wiping out entire civilizations that we don't unearth until hundreds or thousands of years later, and it's
we don't understand the Bronze Age collapse, the Younger Dryas.
The only thing I don't even want to say disagree necessarily, because I don't even know if I know, but I would point to a different event, a different origin of the event, but I agree with a lot of like Graham Hancock's findings and work. But the guy that Graham Hancock cites a lot is Robert Schoch in Egypt with the whole like water weathering of the Sphinx and the age and different things like that. And so kind of more the original material here, the guy that like originally brought to light that the age of the Sphinx is not what we say it is, he has more of the opinion that it was a solar event, a geomagnetic excursion event, and like a plasma event based on solar cycles and things like that. And Graham Hancock really thinks that it is a comet or meteor or whatever. And I tend to lean more toward the solar cycle event, which again, Robert Schoch believes himself, and he's like sort of the OG on the subject.
Well, I could buy the erosion thing as well, but it would also, that would require the Sphinx to predate the pyramids by several hundreds or even thousands of years.
Predate the pyramids. It just predates what they say that the Sphinx was built. Like it might
it's
be
a flawed method. It's an inherently flawed method of how we date things. Sure. And then you got guys like Stan Deyo, and he's saying that there might have been a prehistoric cataclysmic event that changed the way carbon ages.
I haven't heard that. Stan
Deyo. He thinks the days were actually shorter. Back when the dinosaurs were roaming the earth. So,
no, I think that's possible. Yeah, that like if you have various things, whether it's like a something strike the surface of the earth or like earthquakes and things like that, we know that these things alter the speed at which it'll rotate or revolve depending on where it's struck.
Didn't that happen recently? Like we lost
the Indonesian
or something.
It was like a fraction of a second or whatever.
Yeah,
Indonesia.
Yeah. Well, I know, South Georgia, part of the citrus crop in South Georgia was tried to bloom early because it was supposed to be winter, and it got warm for like 3-4 days, and it was just enough to get the flowers to come out, and it did billions of dollars of damage to Georgia's agriculture. Frost
again, right, and then kill all the buds, and that
happens to my garden every single year.
Exactly. So that's what Stan Deyo was saying, is that the Earth used to rotate faster, maybe, and that would explain a lot of things too.
It would explain a lot of things in terms of like ancient calendars and things like that. And actually, it's funny. I happen to know it's like a this day in trivia thing that I was prepared for. Is that this is the day that the Gregorian calendar was adopted in Great Britain.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and so like. But I know a little bit about this because I've looked into like Mayan calendar and stuff like that, and just weirdness but when the Gregorian calendar was adopted, they set everything forward by like, I think it was like 13 days or 11 days or something like that. And this will be like my fun fact, like my 9/11 fun fact, just baked into this comment. If you don't account for the Gregorian calendar, the jump of days, like if you go pre-Gregorian calendar adoption, 9/11 would have taken place on Halloween, which is interesting. If you go in like the more like pre-Gregorian calendar,
pagan significance and You know,
Just
that
an
whole thing.
interesting,
Like
yeah.
it's like a blood sacrifice, maybe if
Well,
they were
and
into that.
we'll save that for a deeper talk. But right now, the tidbit of it is interesting. That it would have taken place on Halloween in terms of pre-Gregorian calendar times. But
Interesting. That's good. And that is one thing we know for sure is that the government definitely doesn't tell us everything, or when they do, they're not very honest about it. Which
don't
is
tell us shit. Yeah.
exactly. Well, I mean, that could be our segue into Governor Kemp with his emergency declaration. So here in Georgia, Governor Kemp came out and did a big press conference that Washington is destroying the economy and we have to fight back. And so he state of emergency suspended the gas tax to get hardworking Georgians some relief.
So wait. He put the gas tax back in place and then suspended it again?
Yeah.
When did it start up again?
By law, he's only allowed to suspend it. He has to suspend it 1 month at a time. He only has the authority to suspend it for 30 days at a time without legislation. And so, during the COVID era, he suspended it for a few months while they could get some legislation rammed through that actually suspended it for a whole year or whatever.
I think I finally have something Zane can educate us on. I know aliens and Hollow Earth isn't your thing, so maybe you can answer this question for me. So I remember
without
first
using
time,
the word malinvestment.
Yeah, you can't say that. But I remember when Kemp suspended the gas tax, like during the COVID nonsense, and there was also a shortage of gas, and like I had to go to like 9 gas stations at one point to get gas because people were freaking out. I don't remember. I think that might have been related to pipeline, actually, not COVID.
That was pipeline.
So, but I remember seeing, the pipeline hack. I remember seeing some libertarians even say, well, this is a stupid thing to do economically because there's a shortage. You don't want to raise or you don't want to reduce the price. That's going to make the shortage worse. So can you speak to that at all? Because that never sat right with me.
Yeah, so the first and foremost, it's always a good idea to reduce or eliminate taxes. So if anybody's telling you that it's a good idea to keep taxes, then they're wrong. The specific fallacy being engaged in here is that in a completely free market, if there is a shortage, it's not that you need taxes to make the price be higher. It's that the price will just automatically get higher.
Yeah.
Because gas stations will realize, a lot of people want gas right now. We can start charging more for it. And that has the effect of preventing any individuals from trying to hoard it. Because if you're having to pay $5 a gallon for gas, then, you're probably only going to buy just enough to get by until for the next couple of days. Whereas if there's a shortage, but it's still only $3, then you're going to bulk up and then there's not going to be enough left for everybody else.
Well,
the problem is we don't live in a free market. We live in a market where the price of gas is heavily regulated. And so the gas stations are sometimes in a position where they can't fully raise the price up to what it otherwise would be, which is what results in a shortage.
But theoretically with it, just by just suspending the gas tax on it, people aren't responding to the price of the gas without the taxes included. They're responding to the price of the tax with the gas included. So I mean, they don't care that it's $5 with the tax or $5 without the tax on it. So really, it comes down to what's the price overall. And if you suspend the gas tax, economically, you're still in a truly free market. You're still going to find that cost equilibrium, which is going to be the same price whether the tax is included or not. It's just the government doesn't get their revenue when you suspend it, and that's probably a good thing. So
what percentage is the gas tax?
Well, see, and we just overhauled this a few years ago here in Georgia because I think it used to be percentage based, and now they moved to like a flat rate per gallon.
Oh,
a lot of it's flat rate per gallon in places.
Yeah, well, because that's what several municipalities were already doing. Counties and cities, they already had 5 cents per gallon goes to us instead of. But I think the state had like a percentage on it, and then they moved to flat rate. I think it was like 22, 23 cents a gallon, something like that.
Mm.
Yeah, according to Fox 5, it's 29.1 cents per gallon.
That's
Okay.
And
high.
that's on top of the Fed's 18.4.
So it's state and federal?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh,
And
damn.
if you're lucky enough to live like in the city of Atlanta or maybe Johns Creek or something like that, there's probably additional city taxes on top of it.
Fuck me.
Right.
God.
Exactly. So
That's each orifice getting fucked, man. That's a lot.
right. Well, and then
But it's for the roads, Alden. We wouldn't have roads if not for this.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
they go
right.
and then they get to have press conferences and beat their chest and talk about how they're providing relief, to hardworking Georgia families during these tough times. And it's
Well,
like,
if
wait
I-
a second. So if you're admitting that you're part of the source of our pain that we need relief from to begin with, why are you doing this to us to begin with? And if you want to give us some actual relief, how about you actually abolish the state income tax? Because we've had the revenue surplus for 3-4 years running to justify this. Give us some real relief.
Yeah, but this is like
I mean,
they're...
Steve-
Oh, go ahead, Zane.
If I come up to you and start punching you in the face and then I stop, technically I have given you relief, just not in the way that most people think about it.
Well
Right.
said, Zane.
Yeah. Well,
I
now
think
I'm
there's
stomping
some-
You
those
don't go
foots
around
and punching
bragging
you
that
in
you
the
stop.
Yeah. I could still be beating you in the face.
face. Yeah.
They're supposed to take tolls down when the road is paid for, right? But they never take tolls down, the toll booths or whatever.
Georgia
They
400
did do
was
that in
paid
Atlanta,
for like
yeah.
10,
Did
15
they?
years.
They don't in
Yeah.
Florida.
It blew my
When I
mind
lived
when that
there.
happened.
Oh, they're talking about putting it back.
Oh,
Mm.
see,
Of course they are.
Yeah,
Right.
they want it
I'm
to
sure it'll be
Georgia
high-tech
400
this
has
time,
already been
too.
paid for 3 times over.
Right,
Because that was a lot of people were like, "Why are we still doing this? We've already paid for this."
right.
In PA here, we're still paying for a flood in Johnstown that happened almost 100 years ago. There's on the alcohol. It's called the Johnstown flood tax. And it's
Yeah.
just-
Wow.
Well,
yeah. You
according
get taxed for
to
a flood. They just decided to make that one permanent. They just said, you know what? We're just not
Oh,
going to
they
get
made
rid
it
of this
permanent?
one.
they don't
they-
have to
they've
keep
in law
signing
made
it
it-
in anymore.
No, they're like at one point they're like, yeah, let's just keep it.
Wow.
What- hey,
They
what
might
about
as
the
well just
town
call
in
it
the,
the reasons tax. Like the tax because whatever.
Because
Screw you,
reasons.
that's why.
yeah.
Yeah. Because I say so tax.
What about the coal mining town that has a subterranean fire in Pennsylvania? I'm surprised they
Centralia?
didn't get taxed for
Yeah.
that.
Well, I mean, they basically just kicked everyone out and just let it burn.
On that
Yeah.
note, Kentucky
Yeah.
is hollow because Ohio sucks.
Yeah, that makes
That's what
sense.
Philip
That makes
says.
sense. Yep.
I don't
No argument
understand
there.
the logic, but it made me laugh, so I'll accept it.
Yeah, there we go.
Apparently,
I-
Ohio sucked all the ground out from under
Oh,
Kentucky.
now it feels
Ohio and Kentucky have a
Ohio's just
rivalry.
a-
I don't fully understand.
It's Ohio and Michigan, really, but also like us here in Western PA hate Ohio as well.
I've
And, like,
been to
people from
Ohio.
Indiana hate Ohio. Like everyone kind of hates Ohio.
Yeah, it's
I know from a survey aspect, the land records totally suck in Ohio.
That's
Which
because there's
is-
no land; it doesn't exist.
which is silly because it's so flat everywhere. You would think it'd be easy.
Well, it was the birth of our public land system, which, by the way, thank you, Thomas Jefferson.
Mhm.
But it was the birthplace of that. We went through 3 different iterations of how the public land system should be divvied up and how the land should be split. And there's an area of Ohio called between the Miamis. So you got the upper Miami River and the lower Miami River. And all the standard surveying rules in that area are backwards. And it's
Mm.
horrible. So, yeah, but
They got-
back to the gas tax though. Thank you for the little bit of relief, but honestly, here's something else I've noticed. Let me see if you guys have noticed this too. So, you go to the pump, the price that's on the sign is based on how much it's going to cost them to buy the next tank, right? It's not what they paid for it; it's what they think the next tank is going to cost.
Is it estimated?
Yes. So, they have these forecasting models. They're usually pretty accurate within, 1% or 2. And they know they mostly operate at shoestring budgets. Your standard gas station in town relies on you to come inside and buy snacks. They don't make much off of their actual gas. The gas
Yeah, I
is
was
just there
gonna-
to lure you into the snack bar.
I was gonna make the point of like the consoles where it's like they sometimes break even or lose money. Some places when the gas prices get pretty low, they lose money on the gas too. Yeah.
All right,
Right.
all right. I gotta real quick pull up Warren's comment because I got to respond to this. Yeah. So also, I believe as far as like checked a couple years ago, the most astronauts came from Ohio as well. The common factor here is everyone's trying to get in the air and get as far away from Ohio as possible.
And the comment said
Boom.
Wright brothers and Neil Armstrong were Ohioans.
Yes, and they were all trying to get really, really far away, which is why they started flying.
Man, yeah. So the price of the gas pump is what it's going to cost them to refill the tanks. Okay, so if they know, hey, you get some news that hey, OPEC's cutting production, the price of Brent crude is up $5 a barrel today. That price at the pump goes up immediately.
That makes
But
sense,
now,
actually.
So we've suspended this gas tax. So here
I'm
in
not saying
Georgia,
I approve of this.
you've
I'm
got
saying it makes
29
sense.
cents coming right off the top. Why? I'm paying more. My prices around town just went up 15 cents this week. How long is it going to take? How much of a leading indicator is this announcement, or is this really going to do nothing? Because the price of a barrel of crude is still going through the roof. So that's just something to think about. It's just one of those things, about like why are hot dogs in packages of 12 and the buns come in 8s? It's that kind of thing. It's like,
so are you saying that the price of gas itself is going up so fast that the effect of suspending the gas tax is going to be completely canceled out by it? Is that what you're saying here?
That's one school of thought, but it's just something I've always noticed that when they announce, because even when if there's a federal suspension of the tax or whatever, you would think, hey, I'm going to go to the gas station tomorrow, next week, and the price is going to drop 30 cents a gallon. Just see if it does. It probably won't. It's going to be really odd. And look at the price of a barrel of Brent crude today, and the price at the pump today. Okay, then next week do the same thing. If Brent crude is still at the same price and your price at the pump hadn't dropped, something's weird. Because they're quick to raise the prices when they know the price of oil is going up. But there's an immediate cut coming. And let's say OPEC increases their production. It'll take them 2 weeks or more to drop their prices at the pump.
Yeah.
Which I don't know exactly how long it takes us to exhaust the storage under the gas tank, under the gas station. But I would imagine it's every couple of weeks at least.
I've noticed this trend before as well, where the prices are much, much slower to fall. I bet it's like the only thing that really gets it to fall is like eventually like the competition of stations that are like, oh, we'll go down a penny, and then the other one's like, oh, well, we'll go down a bit. And like the fall is like really like sort of, precipitous and slow. But when it goes up, everyone's like, well, we're all going up at the same time.
Yeah.
But then the competition thing is like over, sometimes weeks, like as it falls.
Or some of them will just drop the price 10 cents just to bring you into the biscuit shop in the morning.
Yeah. If they got a McDonald's attached to their gas station or something.
Oh, man. If I go in the morning and I smell bacon, you got some old ladies in the back making some biscuits, I am going to that counter. Holy smokes.
If there's old ladies making biscuits, I want those biscuits. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Competition is the reason why prices fall in any industry. And whenever you suspect that prices aren't following as they should, it means either one of two things. One, the government is hiding somewhere in the picture and you're not seeing it. And they pass it off as a market failure, even though it's the government causing it.
Or it's a collusion.
Or two, it's some aspect of the market that's legit, but that's too complicated for the layperson to be able to think through.
Well, that too. But whatever happened to the price gouging hotline from the Obama years?
The price gouging hotline? No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He used a whole bunch of federal money. He earmarked it so you could report gas stations that are gouging during these tough times.
Yeah.
During
some
what?
Gas station in Chattanooga got opt for it. Like they may have actually been gouging, but I think they always gouged. It was like
there
just
a storm
known,
or something, or
like
no,
a
Katrina
hurricane,
was before
I think.
Yeah.
It was a hurricane of some sort. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
No, it was.
Katrina was during George W. Bush because.
Yeah, I remember the whole.
What Kanye,
he doesn't care about
Kanye. Yeah, I was literally the same like timeline frame of reference. Exactly. Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly what year it was, but it was again like what Zane said. It was a government caused crash, and then Hegelian dialectic. Hey, these tough times we're in. I'm here to help you out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give you a little bit
I'm
of a break.
still sad about cash for clunkers too, because of all the old cars that took off the road that we could be driving around right now looking
That
cool
didn't
in our
have
like
fancy electronics.
Chrysler
and everything
LeBarons.
else. You could
Yeah.
actually work
Yeah.
on
Well, and that was
yourself.
the state of California too. They're banning all new car sales by 2030, I think, or is it 2025?
30, I think. At
That 2030 keeps coming up. That
They-
seems to be a
yeah.
popular number.
Right?
Yeah.
But they all have to at
2030.
least be hybrids. And so I remember here in 2025. So I'm just thinking in the back of my head, I've got a year and a half to get a used car dealership in California because you're going to get top dollar for that. Because they're not allowed to buy new combustion engines.
Well, California is also banning all kinds of small engines, like everything from leaf blowers to generators. Like,
Is it
hey,
sales
get
of
on
new ones?
get on our. Well, I mean, they can't go door to door to confiscate, but they're trying to ban basically all like 2-stroke engines and
Mhm.
all small gas powered generators that when they cut your power off and tell you to drive the electric car, but you can't get anywhere because they cut.
But then they tell you
because
don't charge your
reduced all
electric car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and then
Remember that?
PG&E is they'll have these rolling blackouts and admit to it later. Oh yeah, that was us. We were just trying to save $1.
There was a
By the
news.
way, you've got
there
no
was-
legal recourse here.
I think it was within a week where they were like, California, says no to gas cars by this year. And then it was like a week later, California was like begging people don't charge your electric cars this week. Like, oh my God.
Hey, have y'all bought a new computer recently? Like one
No.
that you customize?
No.
Like, Alienware or Newegg or
I've got
anything
like a
that?
12-year-old Mac Mini, man.
Certain
Yeah.
size power supplies are not
Oh,
allowed in
right.
Colorado, California, Washington, and Hawaii.
Why?
They'll ask you what state you live in before you can actually buy this, certain video cards because they
'cause
require
it's-
too much power.
Right.
Well, it just sounds like
okay.
a black market opportunity for someone in a free state to just ship it, to forward ship it to
Right.
someone, not
No,
free
exactly.
Hey
But that's-
kid, you want to
that's-
buy a graphics card?
state. Easy way to make $20.
Yeah, there you go. 12 gigs, man.
Mhm.
So
That's funny.
it's just funny to me and that's how the Republicrats are pushing this stuff too, or at least being so proud of it. Of like, oh, Governor Kemp he's such a
Republicrats.
but it's just, so I stopped punching you in the face and I started stomping on your foot now.
Yeah.
Look at how much better this is. I gave you relief. Now you
Right.
can breathe. And it's
This is
just,
like the old dad joke thing of like, I've got a headache, and he's like, want me to step on your toe? You know what I mean? Like, it's
Exactly.
essentially that.
Exactly. If you want to give us some real relief, give us real money, right? Hey, let's get a state bank. And I hate central banks. I hate the thought of central banks. But if the federal government's so bad that they're ruining the economy, I mean, because now you're starting to sound like one of those J6 guys, Governor Kemp. Let's get a state bank that'll actually issue real money. If they're going to keep ruining the economy like that, it's.
Yeah. Well,
I hate
stay
banks.
tuned for more from the LP Georgia with legal tender in Georgia. That's going to be pushed very soon.
Peaches
Gold
coin.
being legal tender. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's get rid of the income tax. Give us some real money. There's many things you could do to give us relief, other than maybe saving us 29 cents at the pump. But how long is that going to?
Well,
When is it going to take effect?
Yeah.
we haven't even hit the second half of the story on that. Besides suspending the gas tax, he did it by declaring an emergency. Inflation
Oh yeah.
is an emergency. And I mean, the inflation's been bad, but from everything I've seen with the hikes in interest rates, that's been bringing down the rate of inflation, from what I can tell. So, inflation still always happens, but of course it's a political play, and they never find a way to suspend your rights or mess with it when times are good. There's always got to be an emergency. We saw the governor out in New Mexico this past week or so declare an emergency over gun violence and say, yeah, we're suspending your constitutional right and your rights under the law. You just can no longer carry a gun on in public, I guess.
Gun
That was
violence.
the part that was interesting. Yeah, gun violence. So
Climate change.
even though you've got a law here that says, even though we have a law that says this is how you do it and you have a right to do this,
Mhm.
I'm just going to suspend it. And then that story got interesting because I don't know if you guys saw that, but what is it? The the school shooting. David Hogg, the guy from Florida that's annoying about gun violence.
Marjorie Stoneman Douglas.
Yes, that's what I knew. It was Marjorie Stone something.
Taylor Green.
Taylor Green. Yes,
That's all I thought.
I kept going there too. I kept getting.
That's all my
confused
stupid
with that
brain
one.
wanted to say. Yeah.
But yeah, so he was like, he came out and denounced the move by the governor. Meanwhile, Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire goes, well, no, governors have the right to suspend the laws and suspend the Constitution.
Really?
It was
Wow.
it was the
a
most
bold position to take. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the fact that one who would normally be on that side, Hogg, is like, hey, you can't do this, and then one who you would think would be on the other side. Yeah, it was absolutely insane, and
what is
but
what is the actual position? Like, who can suspend our rights, Nick?
Nobody can suspend rights.
Oh, they find a way to.
They're natural.
Yeah, I mean, you can apparently if you buy Liberty safes. There's many things you can do to suspend your own rights.
You can suspend your own rights as much as you want, but no one else can suspend your rights.
That's right. That's right.
Well,
at least your natural rights, your inherent rights, your inalienable rights. And that's where the New Mexico governor, sorry.
As opposed to the old
that's
Mexican.
what she had to learn, where it's like, hey, you have no authority here. And that's why they had the Texas had that open carry march on the Alamo, because it was part of a UNESCO treaty that once it was declared a World Heritage Site, you can't open carry there. And they were like, watch this. You kidding me?
The correlation between emergencies and stripping away of freedoms and privileges and rights, I think even goes to the other level of basically fabricating, making a panic, creating an emergency situation so that you then can take away rights.
Well,
again,
right, because no one gives up their rights under
normal times or whatever.
Like, well, why would I do that, right? Yeah. So 9/11, you had the Patriot Act, and then now you get groped going through TSA 20 years later, and
so
you
that was
take our fucking shoes off.
Yeah.
Or you pay them, or you pay the $80 for them to fuck off. Like
you can do that.
Pre-check. You pay them the $80 for 5 years, and then you get the special line, so you don't have to wait with all the normies who don't know what they're doing, and you don't have to pull your computer and your toiletries and take your belt off and your jacket off and your shoes off. So you just basically throw your thing up on the thing. You don't have to go through the naked picture scanners. You just walk through the metal detector.
I always get
through security in like 5 minutes. So that's why I pay the $80 and I don't deal with it, because I'd rather because you just keep walking. You skip the line, shorter line. Everyone knows what they're doing. You're not pulling stuff out, fumbling around, and you just right through the scanners.
Zane, what are you trying to say?
I got so mad earlier this week. I was in the airport and I saw a sign advertising buying the TSA pre-check, and it was like, isn't getting dressed for the day once enough? I'm like, what the hell? You're the one making me do it. If you really believe that, you would make everybody not have to do it.
This is the same thing of like, hey, I stopped punching you. Yeah.
We'll stop punching you for $80.
Yeah.
Yeah. The government's created a hardship, so we're also going to help you out a little bit.
Yeah.
Have you guys, I know Reason is generally not great with stuff, but you guys ever watch the Remy music videos?
Those are really
great, especially his TSA ones. Those are hilarious.
You talking Remy Gallard?
Just Remy, I think, right?
Oh, okay.
He goes by anything else. I'll drop.
There's a comedian I used to watch, Remy Gallard. He's a French guy. He dresses as a kangaroo and go around the grocery store kicking people.
We should probably.
What?
Oh yeah.
I feel like everything we're saying.
Yeah.
Everything we're saying is summed up by this old Harry Brown quote, where the government is good at one thing. It knows how to break your legs and then hand you a crutch and say, see, if it weren't for the government, you wouldn't be able to walk.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. What it is.
So yeah, that's an interesting picture you're painting, though, Nick, with the state of emergency. So we have Democrat governors, on one hand, that are declaring emergencies of their type, based on their platform, their ideology of, well, now you can't have guns, now you can't go out in public, now you can't have this certain kind of business, or hey, now you don't have free speech on this part of college campuses. You have to go to your free speech zone over there to protest. You have governors doing that kind of stuff, and then you got the Republican version of that is, well, I'm going to suspend due process and cut you a little break, and this is just that's all how it starts, because you look at
This
it.
is
and it's
like
You're moving the goal. It's moving the goalpost on what an emergency is. Like,
Yes.
an emergency in your mind, it's like, natural disaster, fire, something like where a lot of people are affected by an event that seemingly occurs at random out of nowhere really quick. And inflation is not a random event that occurs out of nowhere really quick. Like,
and it was
we
also
know
caused
it's
by the
inflation.
government.
By the Federal Reserve government.
All
It's-
right,
it's
okay,
the same
but-
thing. There's technical differences, but it's not that important.
we'll just call it
There's-
municipal malinvestment.
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
It's-
lest we get too upset about this, I mean, we have to remember that it is the reduction of a tax. And I'm generally of the opinion that no matter what method you use to reduce taxes, that's a good thing. And you might justifiably argue that this sets a bad precedent, that if you declare a state of emergency over this, even though you're just going to reduce taxes, then somebody else could come along later and declare another emergency over something equally dumb and then do something really bad. But I would generally say that the people who are interested in declaring states of emergency to do really bad stuff already know how to do that and are going to do it anyway. So you may as well use the power of the state that you have to reduce taxes.
The same
an
point
alternate
you made with
timeline
AI,
right
like,
now.
Yeah.
In an alternate timeline, Governor Shane Hazel just declared a state of emergency and suspended government.
There we go.
Yeah.
Based.
Send everybody home. So, can you hold the ring of power and use it for good?
Mhm,
Sure.
Right.
But eventually your soul's going to get tarnished.
Look, I'm not encouraging people to grab hold of the ring of power, but in this case, Kemp already finds himself with it, and I'm not going to complain too much about this particular use of it.
Hey, it's a great start, and that's all I'm saying. Look, if you want to get some relief, we've got a whole laundry list of things you can do to provide us some relief from government-imposed hardships in our life right now.
I worry
So-
a little bit about like this, like it's creating like a feud, like a back and forth over like two sides, like kind of saying, expounding on like, the word emergency and like really like creating new definitions for what an emergency is in this back and forth, because then one of these times it's going to be like, oh, it's an emergency because of some intangible thing that's like the climate change or whatever. And it's getting a little like free and loose with the word emergency, state of emergency in general. So this could even just be not even directly today, right now, problematic as much as the concept of loosening up our term emergency, state of emergency, so that later it becomes,
Yeah,
I don't know,
psychologically,
more
what's this doing to younger generations psychologically? Because now they're being inculcated with emergency declarations. You got some folks that say they just went into high school in say 2018 or 2018 they went into like 8th grade and you finally start paying attention. Well, now the entire second half of your adolescence and your transition into adulthood now, every 6 months somebody's on TV talking about emergency this, emergency that. You can't do this anymore. You got to give me that because of this. And it's just, eventually they're just going to capitulate because that's all they've ever seen.
Well, I guess what my point is that the so-called climate emergency is coming for you regardless of how much gas tax you're paying. And so we may as well use it now because, there's already enough emergencies coming from the progressives to inculcate everybody into the cult of perpetual emergency. But I guess as a little bit of a white pill, though, Steve, I wasn't around for this myself, but I do know that for lots of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, people were spending lots of their time being worried about impending nuclear Armageddon, and everybody.
And how did you defend against
right.
that? You crouched under a wooden desk. Are you serious?
No, so I guess what I'm saying here is that people are possibly more robust against perpetual emergency than you're giving them credit for, because the call of perpetual emergency I don't think is a new thing.
Well, how many people of that generation? Because by the way, they're also walking around with dents in their arms from a certain shot they had to have. How many of those people just answered the nice man in the white lab coat just because he said something? You know, so it's about being inculcated with obedience. It's reflexive to them. It becomes instinctive. Talking about that whole generation too. I mean, those are the people that just because someone in authority, you know, that's how you have all these news articles too. Just because someone in authority said something, they take it as true, or like, oh, well, that's something I need to take to heart. And so that's how you have, even still today, these news articles starting with officials say, or, you know, according to authorities.
Sources close to the matter.
Right, right. Because that still hits home with an entire generation of people that, by the way, still control most of the nation's money in real estate.
Everyone's Walter Cronkite, and that's just the facts, or whatever his tagline was.
Yeah.
Even though he was just
Now,
as
granted,
biased.
back then, you know, these officials were actually trustworthy and, for the most part, looking out for you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
4
a
out
lot
of
of
5.
at least in our part of the country.
4 out of 5 doctors smoke Lucky Strike. You know.
Yeah.
And this is, again, just another illustration of the superiority of the free market over government, where if you're able to freely select your experts, then it works a lot better and you can trust them a lot more. Because, like, when I go for an oil change, you know, experts say I need to get my oil changed, but you know, I'm willing to trust those experts because they know way more about cars than I ever will. But it becomes when they're experts that you're pressured into listening to, or that you have to listen to, that they become very untrustworthy.
Well, I think the difference is, if I were to nitpick a difference, is the experts who tell you when to change your oil are the people who designed it for that reason. Right? They designed it around, oh, well, we're going to use this kind of oil and we're going to spec it to this, and this oil says this, and we're going to design to what the oil says, versus the people who make up mathematical models and say, oh, our models predict that all the ice in the world will be melted 20 years ago.
Good night, Steve.
Right. So,
Yeah. Good
see you,
night,
Steve. Catch you next week. Hey,
So-
I don't know. It's just like my engineering mind, where I'm like, yeah, I design stuff based off of what, you know, I find a thing and I'm like, I base it off of this, you know. You have variables you take into account and you design around, so you're not like doing everything from scratch. I don't know. Engineer mind, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So, you know, while we're talking on the topic about, you know, government totally not looking out for you, if you just need a prime example of this in recent times, you know, we got this guy in Glenn County that apparently stole about $290,000 from the county funds. And I don't know, you know, exactly. Glenn County's kind of small, I do recall. I know there's a big naval base around there, but relatively small county, kind of backwoodsy. I don't know how big their budget is, but, you know, how did this guy get away with $290,000 before he got caught? That's what I'm wondering.
That's a lot.
It's
And,
a small county, but it looks like Jekyll Island's in that county. So, I mean, there's money in that county.
yeah,
It's
there you
Fed
go.
County.
It's one of our big tourist attractions here in Georgia. That's, you know, everybody's getting their engagement photos taken on that piece of driftwood.
Isn't the-
Jekyll
the
Island
birthplace
and,
of the
St. Simon's.
Yeah.
Like, so there's money sitting there.
Employees
go.
stole hundreds of thousands. And the guy's name is William Richards, which we have our own William Richards in the party, and he would never do this.
But we
by the
like
way.
him.
So,
Yeah, we like
Yeah.
him. He's a good guy. He does good work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to call this guy Bill Dix.
Yeah.
Bill Dix, yeah.
Yeah. Not to be confused with Bill Hicks.
No,
Because the only thing
Bill
funny
Hicks
this guy
was
does is
Fantastic.
Not to be
yeah.
confused with Alex Jones.
yeah, there we go. 5 degrees of separation from Alex Jones, right? He's the new Kevin Bacon.
Bill Hicks was the shit, though. I like the Bill Hicks shout out.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen his stand-up on the JFK assassination? It's great. You should
Yes.
go
Yeah, I
watch it.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. I mean, everything he did was good, but
So that's just proof, though, that your personal life isn't really so personal, especially when you're in politics. And
is this a segue?
yes, it is.
I feel a segue coming on.
Yeah. So that's how we have somebody running for House of Commons up in Virginia, and what's her name? Susanna Gibson, I think it is. She's calling her opponent out for a sex crime because this lady used to do things with her husband on camera for money.
Oh yeah. Well, you don't do it not for money.
Well, yeah. Well, she did it as recently as 2 months ago.
Is it that recent? Wow.
Yes, like it was from this July was her last post, I think, is what the story was saying. And so now she's trying to call out her opponent for a sex crime, and it's just like, hey, look, if you put those images and those videos out there for money, don't expect that to be private. But it's now she's coming out, oh, my rights were violated. This is a violation of my privacy.
It almost feels like she did it as like baiting the circumstance, because they didn't try to cover their faces at all or anything. And if you're gonna, be in office or run for office, I find that strange to think that those worlds won't collide later.
Right. Well, and she's also a nurse practitioner, so I guess she just honestly thought that her opponent was not going to do any oppo research. I don't know.
In this day and age,
Exactly.
no, I don't know. Feels fishy.
It would be kind of awkward to have to be the one to admit that you found this piece of research.
Yeah, I found it. How'd you find it?
I just typed in her name, Background check. It's
Typed it into what?
pretty common. Yeah. Yeah, right. The classic Pornhub background check search,
I mean, Pornhub was hosting gun videos for a while and some other stuff, I believe.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
They were
worth
trying to
checking.
be
Well,
the
apparently
free
they
speech
also host
video.
videos of underage kids, so
Oh, God.
not a fan.
They do? Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, it's definitely not good.
Man. So just be careful. Friendly neighborhood reminder here. Anything you put on the internet, don't expect it to stay private.
I had my reservations
This
about
this show's
even
not
doing
private?
this. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean this show's private. So if you share anything about this show, this is
This
a
show's
violation of my
fine.
rights.
All
We
but
just get
separate.
together every Thursday night and talk to each other and act like we're doing this show for the public, but really,
That's right.
it's just
I legitimately had my pause about doing this just because I'm such a private person normally that there's not much of me out in the world, but there's some blurry photographs. I'm like Bigfoot out there. Like I barely.
Are you one of those that
anything.
scrubs yourself from Google every now and then? I've got friends that do that.
I do the Ron Swanson situation, like delete all photos of Ron. Like, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, with the sexual data, you've got automakers, folks, like Nissan, Kia. They're telling people that they can collect sexual information, your sexual activity information.
Only
and
if
they're
you have
trying
sex
to
in the
sell that
car.
to third-party advertisers and stuff. And also makes me wonder how many people are doing it in their cars.
Yeah.
Wait, are there like sensors in the seat? How would you even go about collecting that?
Well, so a lot of it is, again, we don't read the EULAs these days. So, when you sync your phone to whatever it needs, to the infotainment system,
Mhm.
that's,
Oh.
apparently it's collecting your text messages, it's reading your emails, looking at your images.
Also,
that
it's
kind of
like
stuff.
that story how the automated systems at Target realized that one girl was pregnant before she knew and her parents knew. Right, so like they
What
probably
did it send
have
her
a
an
way
ad
with all
for
the
diapers?
AI.
Like,
Yeah, something, and so
Yeah, because she was buying a bunch of stuff. It was like unscented body lotion and like other stuff that people who are pregnant buy. And so Target's
pregnant people buy unscented body lotion?
I don't know why, but that's just that was mentioned.
They're very
in the video that
sensitive
I
to
heard.
smells.
Well, Target's gonna think I'm
But-
pregnant then.
But the algorithm, Target's algorithm picked up on this, and then it sent this girl like an ad with like baby clothes and cribs and stuff.
Right,
Because
right.
it recognized that she was probably pregnant, and the girl's dad went into the store really angry and went to the manager and was like, "Your ads, what are you doing? Trying to encourage my daughter to get pregnant? This is outrageous." So the manager obviously apologized, but then
Turns
a
out
week or so later, the dad came back in and it's like, "Oops, sorry about that."
No, he's
that's like a very
right.
famous example, but like there's very like
He just
with enough big data, you pick up on correlations of things like that shouldn't make sense or doesn't make sense to you just looking at like someone's shopping cart. You won't see it, but you run it across enough demographics with enough time and enough opportunity.
like
and
the
you know,
dad
like,
in this is right to be mad. He just was like mad for the wrong reason, and so then apologized for it. But like, no, it's still fucked up. Like, this is like the people that get like their cursor is shaky like online, and they get an ad for like Parkinson's medication or something, and they're like, I don't have Parkinson's, and then like a month later they're like, fuck, I have Parkinson's. You know what I mean? Like, it's like ahead of them. Like, anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one of the things that, I mean, that's actually convenient. Some might see it as an invasion of privacy, might see it as offensive because you're stereotyping me, you've got some kind of prejudice against me, whatever. But I mean, that is convenient to a lot of folks. I know, like, if I walk in Kroger and they're playing some music I grew up to, I get excited. When I get my monthly coupons from them of like, hey, this is stuff I bought last month. This is great. Thank you for the coupon. I get excited.
What's an example of this music that you're talking about?
So there was one time I walked in and they were playing, what was it? Collective Soul, Runaway Train.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh man.
Wait a minute. Runaway Train.
Yeah.
That's Collective Soul? I thought that was Soul Asylum.
Soul Asylum.
Right? Yeah. Ah.
Good catch. But okay. It was definitely Runaway Train.
They're both of the same era though, Collective Soul and Soul Asylum. Yeah.
Yeah. But I walk in, I'm like, oh, I'm the target demographic now.
Yeah. They had you from the beginning, yeah.
Yeah. Or I walked in one time they were playing Sir Mix-a-Lot. It was late at night. All right. This is great.
That's funny.
But convenience does come at a cost. And, obviously if we have this kind of technology, these capabilities in the hands of the government, vigilance is required. And even from private entities, because now you see Nissan and Kia, I mean, they're selling this to third-party advertisers. They're boasting about this stuff. Now, this isn't something that your local car salesman is going to tell you when you're checking one out. Hey, by the way, this thing tracks all your sexual data, man, and it gets 18 miles a gallon. You need this car.
Yeah.
Imagine if they had to come out with disclosures like that. That'd be pretty interesting.
With the sexual data in particular, given that we're all libertarians, I guess we don't need to worry about that.
Hey, Steve's got another kid on the way.
Yeah, there we go. Well, it might look like the mailman. We'll see. The benefit, we're both libertarians. So
there you go.
Yeah, the rare
I
find.
was hesitant to honestly get a new car because of all the stuff that like I didn't want to pay for, and I don't really want it listening to me, and I don't care about a push button start, and I don't give a shit if it can fucking drive in a straight line without your hand on the wheel or whatever. Like, I was really reluctant to even get a new car. I had the same car, the first car I bought, for 15 years because I didn't want to spend the money on. I didn't have a car payment, and it worked fine or whatever. It was only when it started to have basically where I'm like, I don't know if I trust it anymore, that I
one
finally
I really
pulled
don't
the trigger.
trust is the whole start-stop technology.
Oh, well,
I
I went
that.
around that.
Oh
no, you can buy. I bought a section of cable basically that like switches the polarity so that now the default is that it doesn't do it. So instead of me having to toggle
that's
it,
the first thing I do is I navigate to that and turn it off.
Yeah.
Because the first time I rented a truck, it was an F-150. And we're going on vacation somewhere. And I was turning left at a four-way intersection.
Yeah.
And that start-stop thing slowed me down just that half a
second. And then you go, and it's like, whoa, because it hesitates. And
Yes, that was, I pulled off the road right there. I called the dealer. I was like, how do I turn this crap off? It almost killed me.
Well, most of them now, you don't have a way to permanently turn it off unless you physically alter it. And that's what I'm saying. I I bought a wire harness coupler that switched the polarity so that I don't have to touch it. When I get in the car, it's off. Like the default is now off because I'm not fucking with that. Yeah.
Right.
I have a really tricky left turn out of my apartment that I got to gun it to get out of there. And I cannot have it be hesitating or I'm going to get rear-ended turning left out of here, man. Can't do it.
I've got to talk to you about that because my car, that setting automatically turns itself on every time.
Yeah,
it's
it
not
will.
that big of a deal for me to turn it off every time.
But if you forget once, then it's all laggy. Yeah. What model car do you have?
It's a Subaru.
Subaru
Legacy.
What year?
Which, by the way, Subaru has your sexual data. They were also mentioned in the article.
Well, it's a good thing there's not very much of that.
Hey,
also, I mean, like, I'm sure they're only collecting it based off of the assumption you're a lesbian because it's Subaru.
There you go.
What year car? I'm gonna look this up later.
2021.
All right. I'll find you a link. I'll send you. And you can probably just clip a little harness in and just pop out your little like gear shifter, little like cover plate, and put it in. And
really, is that all it is? Just swap a couple wires in it.
Yep. Yeah. You're just putting a gap of wire that's in. You just unplug the panel like from where the button is that you would normally push to disengage it. You just put a new section of wire between there that just switches it so that the default is now basically accepting that it's now disengaged by default. That's basically it. It's like a $20 or $30 part.
There should be a more or less permanent switch if that's going to be in. Just
it should be. You can thank your government for that too. That now these things.
Well, the issue here is that Volkswagen got busted just beating the system and
lying about the.
I want to buy a Volkswagen now because of that.
Volkswagen.
They found a way to get around the emission standards. They were selling the diesel ones and they weren't testing them properly. I was like, I want one.
Volkswagen suck, man.
Well, but they could. They were installing it based off of they could tell what the test cycle looked like. So they're like, well, we're just going to program it to behave differently during the test cycle, which is like, yeah.
I got a Volkswagen plant in my backyard here now in Chattanooga, and I will never buy a Volkswagen.
Oh, the Tiguan is gangster. I don't care what you say.
No, dude, the Tiguan is such a lemon. Look it up. Look how many people are fucking really deeply dissatisfied with their Tiguan after like 20,000 miles.
I did have a rental brick on me.
I'm telling you.
The infotainment system just blacked out, and then the whole car locked up. But then they brought me a new one. I mean, that because I called them, and I was like, look, I'm stuck on the side of the highway.
But that's a rental. Florida. That's fine. I don't care about rentals.
St. Joe, Florida. They're like, where is that? I was like, exactly. Come find me.
Exactly. This is a problem.
Port St. Joe is awesome, by the way.
You know where Port St. Joe is?
If you ever get to go to Indian Pass Raw Bar, it's amazing.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. It's about 30 miles northwest of Apalachicola. It's between Apalachicola and Panama City.
Okay.
Which I think in my family history, somebody was mayor of Apalachicola.
Oh, cool.
That's fun.
There was another city that doesn't exist anymore. When I look it up on Google Maps, it's like a parking lot, and they were mayor there in Florida. So
mayor of the parking lot,
king of the castle.
So I got the replacement car. The replacement Tiguan was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Had a phenomenal week. Thankfully the thing bricked on me day one. So we had a whole week with the thing.
Is this the week amazing. That you got the shark and all that, and
we caught a shark with a catfish.
Catfish bait,
good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're ever ocean fishing, folks, that's a good tip there. You catch a little catfish that's foot and a half long, something like that. Throw the joker back out there, and you're going to catch a shark.
It's good for shark, tarpon, stingray, a lot of big stuff, honestly.
Hey, what are you going to do if you catch a stingray on the fishing line, though?
Oh, dude, it is a fight because the surface area that they have. It took me 45 minutes to land a stingray one time. That was about 6 feet.
You got to hit it with a bat. What do you do with a stingray?
Oh no, I don't. I try not to. I just got up underneath it, and you can either roll it up and pliers, or cut the line, or something like that, because there's mouse on the bottom or whatever. But it took a long time though. Biggest thing I ever hooked
doesn't raise the water temperature, because then you'll catch it to the chest.
Is that the Steve Irwin?
Yeah.
Man, what a weird way to go for him, man.
Yeah, I would have expected something a little bit more exciting. And it's extra disappointing because that was basically caught on camera and never released.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it, but
No, not the video of it was never released.
no, it's you can find it. You can find anything, man.
If
I've
it's on
seen
the
it.
internet,
Yeah.
I don't think
Is
it
it?
stays private.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never looked.
Back to the
but-
lesson here. Yeah. No,
Um,
it's sad. I mean, I've seen. I don't know why I feel compelled, but anytime someone says like, "Oh, it's not on the internet," I'm like, "Hold my beer," you know, like, challenge accepted. Like, same with the in question here, the person in question, the sex tapes, or whatever. I'm like, I had to verify. You know what I mean? I just had to know. Research purposes. I just had to know.
You know what they say: trust but verify.
Yeah.
Not in the
That's
Bitcoin
exactly
community.
right.
We say don't trust, verify.
Hmm. Yeah. Unfortunately,
Because
they used
we
a
can audit
camera
the whole
from like.
blockchain. So
Yeah,
we don't
or
trust
in the case
anything.
of,
We just look at facts.
I was saying in the case of Woodbury, Georgia, you could don't trust, recall, because we got the mayor of Woodbury, and it's a small town. That, if you watch The Walking Dead, what they call Woodbury is actually Sonoya.
Right.
About 15 miles south of that, we actually got Woodbury down in Meriwether County, and they just kicked their mayor out of town.
Over what though? Like,
So, from what I understand, and I've got friends down there, and one of them may still be in the chat. It was mainly over like the water bill, the way it was being handled, because there people would go months and months, sometimes a year or more, no water bill, and then all of a sudden you get a bill for $1,800.
that's weird.
Yeah.
Dude, I hate when
All
that
right.
shit happens. Like
Is that the
At one
mayor's
point-
fault?
Well, yeah, because it was the mayor was running the public works. So
Okay.
it's all the mayor's office. It's a smaller government down there, so it's the mayor actually carries some weight, from what I understand.
The mayor actually
Yeah, look
does
at the
stuff.
vote totals: 221 to 13.
Oh, yeah.
So,
All
this
of them,
person got 12 people to vote for them.
Wow.
I see, and this same town just a few years ago, they had to run out their city manager and the police chief and half the police department because they were pirating software, doing all kind of stuff. And it's amazing, like the level
Well,
of grift.
pirating software is okay in my book, but
Well, sure, but if you're also arresting people for pirating software while you're doing
I mean,
it,
not the government, though.
Ah.
They already steal enough. They don't need to pirate, too.
right.
What if
I'm
it
just-
saves?
I'm just saying that IP is fake and gay. So.
What if it
Yeah.
saves the taxpayers money if they use pirated software? Are we for
I
it?
mean,
They
ultimately
should
it
still
does.
just screw off.
Right.
But are
Just
you
don't
going
do what
to,
you're
as a
doing.
department, are you still going to enforce these laws while you're not abiding by them?
That is the question, though. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
the point of reducing taxes is to force them to reduce spending, not to make them have to pirate software anyway.
That's
Mhm.
exactly right. That's exactly right.
I don't like generally the concept of IP either. I think there's an argument to be made that pirating software is a step beyond just not respecting IP in general, but maybe that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, there we go.
Just to pay what they thought they owed for water. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I had a situation at one point where the electrical company wasn't charging me in my apartment. Like I wasn't getting a bill and I was just like letting it ride. I'm like, hey, I haven't seen a bill, whatever.
Mhm.
I'm like, their fault. They could be billing me. They're not. And then they like, for some reason I called them and then they realized for something and they realized, oh, hey, you haven't been paying a bill. You haven't been getting billed. I'm like, well, that's not my problem, is it? It was my problem. They're like,
Mhm.
you owe us like hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, fuck you. Like you had a chance to charge me. You guys didn't. Like, not my problem.
That's right. Well, and that's just the principle of the matter, because that's how they conduct business. Because damn well the government, if you're doing business with them as some kind of subcontractor or anything like that, first you have to become an approved vendor. There's a pre-qualification process. They have to, you got to submit W-9, certificate of insurance, all this kind of stuff. Go through a little bit of a process. You submit them a proposal. They approve the proposal. They issue a purchase order. You can't invoice them without a purchase order because you have to reference the purchase order number in your invoice. And then they pay you. But, hey, you've got all that red tape that we have to go by to do business with you, yet you're just going to get up and say, oh, well, you owe a water bill anyways, just go ahead and pay us. Well, hey, there's also like some contract laws in Georgia that, if you send payments, you've just entered into a nonverbal agreement. They can adjust this payment at any time and just say you owe more. Unless you have something in writing that you have a fixed bill or anything like that, they can just say, well, you didn't pay us enough, and now we're also charging interest.
Frustrating too that in Georgia, all of this with the water can go on, but then also Georgia's pretty weirdly strict about if you're going to make a well on your own property, that you can't make a well on your own property if municipal water is available, unless it's strictly for, and you have to claim that it's strictly for agricultural purposes, like you're going to water your tomatoes with it or whatever, or like you can't collect rainwater in like a cistern catch or whatever.
Do it anyway.
Well,
exactly.
of course, but like in general, it drives me
the rain
crazy.
Police, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it
it's
drives me
illegal.
crazy.
It's not your water; it's our water.
Yeah,
That's just my pet barrel. I can't help what it catches.
yeah. It drives me crazy that a place is like, when you buy property, it's supposed to be like a vertical. Stephen, you'll get this. Like the surveyor and you will appreciate this. Like anything that is above and below the boundary line of this, like whether it's sky or, this is why when you get the rights to oil, it's like below your property line, that kind of thing or whatever. Except for when the rain comes down and you catch it in something, they're like, oh, well, we're going to protect you from yourself, because what if you get sick from drinking rainwater? And it's like, well, what if I don't want fluoride and chlorine and everything.
I was about to say, there's no fluoride in the rainwater.
Yeah, exactly, though. And that's what I'm saying is that I think it highlights two things. One is they want to sell you the water, and they want you to drink their water for potentially other reasons.
I know some places that they will let you have your own well, but you have to be under a certain zoning, residential, agricultural. So it's either RA or AR, depending on what county you're in or whatever level.
Yeah.
If municipal water is available, you have to pay to have a tap run to your house. You don't have to turn the valve on, but you have to have it connected.
Interesting. I didn't know about that little detail.
Have like a diverter where you run off of the well, and then
they'll let you have the valve. Because once it leaves the right of way, it's on private property. But to issue the CO for you to move into the new construction, if you're building the house, they have to see that you have tapped into the municipal water, and if you don't use it, you just don't get a bill.
Right.
But, so and that was an interesting. You're bringing up that principle. I think it's I'm going to mispronounce the stuff, but they're part of our old land rights that come from English common law. The Latin phrase "Cui est solum, es usque ad colum et ad infernos," something like that. But it's like from the heavens down to the depths of hell.
Right.
That's basically what it translates into, and that's
that vertical column of boundary. Yeah.
We need a Catholic here.
I need an old priest and a young
took
priest.
Latin in high school. I can.
In Normandy Patriot Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
Yes.
I know me some Latin.
But it's interesting that they just ran the mayor out. Because that's a pretty small town, and it's just pretty neat to see what happens when some good old boys get pissed off and start participating.
I like to see what happens on smaller scales. Every time something happens in the world, I'm like, imagine you were in a village of 42 people, and would we fucking put up with that? You know what I mean? Like, or would we be like, that's it, somebody else is gonna do this job? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tar and feather. I don't know about that, but right, yeah.
I don't know. That was is it though? It was very successful when it worked that way. What better punishment for people?
But yeah, the police chief of Woodbury used to be a guy named Smart Webb, and he moved over to Spalding County, and they had a brief experiment with the Marshal Service, and then that was when he shot that pit bull in the kid's front. There was a kid with Down syndrome. And he was walking to a call.
I remember you telling us about
walking
that.
through someone's yard. He wasn't on the sidewalk. He was walking through someone's yard, and this pit bull came up on him and started barking at him and stuff. And he shot the dog, and then the kid's just toast. He's just devastated that his best friend is gone. And that's when Sheriff Dick stepped in and was like, "We don't have a Marshal Service anymore." So that's what came from Woodbury. So they have a documented history now several years running that their entire government structure is corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they're quite the size of Glenn County. I don't see people walking away with hundreds of thousands of dollars. But Meriwether County, the property taxes did just go up on average, I think about 35 to 40%. And when you move there to get away from all the big town BS, and you know what you're getting into, you're like, okay, obviously the schools are crap in the middle of nowhere, and then all of a sudden you get hit with this big, huge property tax increase because they're like, well, we're getting a lot of people moving here, we got to build some better schools. And it's like, well,
So what was the mayor's reason for just saying pay whatever? Was it like laziness or some social justice nonsense, or what was she doing?
Kudos to her for kind of standing her ground and not throwing people under the bus. Because if there was ever a time to get up and point fingers and say, well, hey, so and so did this and so did that and so should have been doing that, like that's the time to do that because you're on the way out anyways. It's interesting because it just sounded, just typical, deflection, basically of, we didn't do anything wrong. We didn't issue hundreds of people in the county didn't get their bill for months or even years at a time, but we're totally right here.
Yeah. I think it's hard. It would be in bad taste to defend that and to come on and say you're wrong. So that much at least is in good taste, I think, to not defend it like outright, that something that bills you randomly at 11 to 18 month intervals is correct. That would be a lot to try and defend.
And I've got it where I am too. There's a lot of folks here because I'm on like a community well. So there's like 3 neighborhoods and then there's like another 2 miles of road that have another couple of hundred houses. So all in all, there's probably 300-400 houses on this community well.
Who manages the well?
It's just a dude. It's not like it's not like a municipal water authority.
Right. That's
near
what I mean.
me.
Like,
there's a trailer park with its own well, and its water is cleaner than the county water.
Bet, yeah.
But like, right after a big rain, our water kind of stinks. It'll get a little muddy for a while, and you can tell they dump a lot of chloramine in it to, kill whatever came out of the creek. But they're terrible. Like I haven't seen a water bill in 8 months, but I just know. I'm just paying the guy. And then here's the other thing. Like I have to pay him through like Venmo or Cash App. Like we could mail him a check, but I'm like, is there like an online payment portal? And it looks like there is. Like there's a website. There's a shell of a website, and you click pay now, and nothing happens. So,
but is this a government employee or is this like a third party thing, or is this?
This is just a private dude that owns our water.
Is he like one of the houses that like is drawing water from this, and it was just like it's on his property and he just does it, or like who manages this well? That's so weird.
I don't even think he lives here.
That's so weird.
So, that would be a crazy thing. It's like, welcome to the neighborhood, Alden. You're responsible for the water for like 500 people.
I don't know the system. Like, yeah. That's so interesting, though.
Yeah, you moved into the model house.
Yeah,
with it comes water authority. What?
Yeah, I would do it.
So I got another question for the group and maybe for Zane. So is libertarianism just when people run things better? Like a libertarian wouldn't have all these problems if they were the mayor because they're more efficient or whatever? Is that what libertarianism is?
So it kind of depends on, like, are we saying that the mayor is libertarian, but we still live in the statist society that we do, where even if I, as the mayor of some town, would like to turn it into Ancapistan, I probably couldn't, just for a variety of reasons, because of other governments that also exist besides just a town, or that nobody else would want that, unfortunately. So as a libertarian politician, and I'm sure we could maybe get a guest on that actually has experience doing this and not just me pontificating, but I'm sure there is a balance to be struck by. Yeah, I'm sure that you would love to be able to not tax people at all. But then again, unless you succeed in convincing everybody that you should get rid of the public school, everybody's going to want the public school to still be there, and you kind of have to deal with what's the most libertarian solution to this very unlibertarian situation that we find ourselves in? And I'm not sure that there is one obviously correct answer to it.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it would just be, ballot referendums, kind of thing of, well, hey, if this is really what you want, you're doing it to yourself. Just want you to know, I'm not forcing this on you. You voted for it.
I don't know. I mean, you could also be like, yeah, we declare that your tax value is this much, but like that number is recommended and pay whatever. Here's if you think that we're doing a good job, here's the number, pay more or less. And then you see where people stand, and it's like, oh, people don't want to pay us, so I guess we're not useful, and bye.
Yeah. Well, one thing I think with like property taxes, for instance, if we have to have them, which I despise them, I don't think we do have to have them, because if you own your property, you should own your property. You shouldn't have the government have this instrument that they could then levy you out of your own house.
Property tax is about the worst tax that exists.
Exactly. But if we have to have them, instead of being on this sliding speculative scale that it currently is, because you have this county assessor, you get updated assessments every year. Okay, I never got noticed my property was being assessed.
Right.
Do they need to come in and take some photos? If I'm going to sell the house, why am I hiring an appraiser? If you've already done it, why can't I just have your appraisal report? Things like that. Some of these questions come up. How much am I paying the appraiser, by the way? Because I didn't really consent to that. This is something you've just done. And then, the whole concept of the millage rate, instead of that, if you've got to have property taxes, why don't we lock them in based on the purchase price of the home? So essentially, if you want to reward people for planning, staying in your county or your city,
unless
having
you
a family and
refinance
multi-generational stuff, it's locked in on the purchase price. And then of course, if you refi, that resets the clock on that price.
Right.
Have it like 0.25% of the purchase price, which would be significantly lower than it currently is. But again, you're rewarding people staying in your town.
I'm curious what like everyone else thinks, but I'm with Nick on this one. I think the concept of property tax in particular, because you're not like sales tax, you're at least going out to buy a new thing, income tax. I mean, that's a tough one. I abhor income tax as it is anyway, but at least it's
They're
like
all pretty
ongoing.
terrible.
But like, I think property tax rubs me the wrong way more than any, because like 30 years later, you bought that property forever ago, and then it's like, oh well, now we got a good school, and now we put it, and you're like, I don't have kids, like what, and like I didn't choose to live here under the pretenses that you're charging the tax now. Like, you chose to move there whatever time ago. I think that one bothers me in principle the most.
Well,
and shelter is a basic necessity too,
and that's totally fair too. Yeah.
In my mind, it's like property tax, then income tax. Like, first, the property you supposedly own being able to be stole out from you because you don't pay your bribe to the local government, and then income tax because like, oh, I'm just going to go to work today, and a third of my day is working for the people I hate because they spend the money bombing people in other countries and starting wars, and
they hate you too.
They hate us. Yeah, they hate me too. So
so under a fair tax model, and I don't really want to misquote Neil Bortz on this one, but under a fair tax model, you would have a one-time sales tax on the transaction when you buy the property.
There you go.
Done with it.
Yeah. There you go.
Do we want to move on to fun videos to round the show out?
Yeah. Sure. Let's go ahead and round it out.
I dropped one in the private chat for.
Yeah, I got it lined up.
Is this the Susanna Gibson video?
No.
I don't think we can do that on YouTube.
Yes, but I need everybody listening to get in your Kia, your Nissan,
your Subaru. Yeah.
If your Kia hasn't been stolen.
With a with a USB drive or
anything that can that shape, a USB drive, a cord,
right,
a screwdriver, whatever.
Right.
But okay, so this first one is from the manhunt that was going on in Pennsylvania. So let me see.
Oh, right.
There was a $20,000 bounty out for this dude who had escaped from prison.
Look at this. Look at this. This is what I'm talking about, people. There is are you out here? Do you normally put these on here?
Only one dudes who run around with 20 grand price tag.
You're looking for the 20 grand. God bless you. Be safe. See what I'm talking about?
Vipers.
Look at this. Look at this. This is.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
That's Middle Pennsylvania for sure.
Except like this was Chester County. This is like Eastern PA.
While Jake's not here, I think I'm going to declare a new segment of the show in honor of Jimmy Buffett. I think I'll call it Cheeseburger and Capistan, where I go off on yet another rant about anarchist theory. But I think this is a really interesting video because if you showed a normie this video, their first reaction would be, I can't believe that private people are doing this. We should have somebody official doing this. Because what if these randos, what if they just shoot the first Mexican they see? Because, they're
so different from what officials do.
But that's exactly my point. When private citizens doing this is actually very preferable to the actual police doing it. Because if these guys went and shot somebody who wasn't the right guy,
they would get
personally
persecuted.
Responsible. Whereas if the cops shoot somebody that's not the right guy, they're like, oopsie, and then they've got the entire police union behind them.
And then they get a paid vacation.
If they get sued, they've got the entire city treasury behind them, and they're not personally responsible at all. We have seen
taxpayers.
We have seen a couple cops get, over the past couple of years get in trouble for some of the shootings that they've done. But for everyone who actually does get in trouble, we've seen tons of clips on here that is not even the tip of the iceberg in terms of cops that do get away with it. So I love these guys.
But to get on my libertarian soapbox about that manhunt, who was involved in that, and it's not mentioned very publicly, but I caught a news article that mentioned it very briefly. BORTAC.
What's that?
Border Patrol Special Tactical Operations.
Oh,
okay.
I don't see a border that close to that.
Border. That's what I was just thinking. What border?
Because I haven't seen
Ohio. We're worried about Ohio
because most of it.
Yeah,
this was nowhere near Ohio. It's closer to New Jersey or.
There's still a threat.
Right.
Ohio is always there, allegedly.
Ohio
sucks. I know. But I was reading an article and it was just like, it was like breaking down some of the stories, some of the events, and it was like, so an alarm was tripped here and a BORTAC team that was close by responded, and I'm like, what is BORTAC doing there? It's always weird because you always find BORTAC popping up in weird places. Because if you remember, was it under like whenever the Summer of Love happened back in 2020 and everyone was burning everything?
The hell's the summer?
I believe,
what's the 2020 Summer of Love?
Where everyone was burning everything because of George Floyd.
Yeah.
The
Black Lives Matter.
That's called the Summer of Love now?
Peaceful riots.
The fiery but mostly peaceful riots.
I think of a very different thing.
If I remember right, the Trump administration dispatched
there was somebody
to Portland to respond.
There was somebody on Legacy Media that said it's like a Summer of Love out here, and that's how it earned that nickname.
Oh, it got stuck. See, that's that's interesting, because when I think of the Summer of Love, I think of in the 90s when the government gave no bid contracts to different companies to put in the internet lines, and they amongst themselves decided who was going to get what zone, so they didn't compete with each other or whatever. And that's what I think of as the Summer of Love. So it's funny that now that has a new name or a new meaning.
Yeah, Summer of Love. The recent Summer of Love is responding to that. But if I remember right, BORTAC was dispatched to Portland by the Trump administration over the fiery but mostly peaceful protests going on there. So it's always weird that Border Patrol has these massive, I thought it used to be 100 miles, but I think it pushes what, like 500 miles or something. What I do know is like, before I moved to Georgia, I lived in West Texas for a year, and I was 4 or 5 hours from El Paso, so 4 or 5 hours from the border. That's hundreds of miles at 70, 80 miles an hour, and there was still a border patrol like office near the airport. You'd occasionally see border patrol trucks in the area. It's like, dude, border's like way that way. It ain't here.
Yeah.
Like, it's not
Interesting.
your. And then of course, you have
How
those
far they'll
inland
be.
checkpoints and stuff that come up. But
Maybe they're
this is
looking
an
for a
old one,
bus with
but a
Texas
good one.
plates.
And this video here is an old one, but good one. Remy, he's got about 5 or 6 TSA parodies, as well as like every so often the song pops up and he hits it. Like, he's got a Richmond North of Richmond one, Richmond North of Richmond federal employee version. Is a recent one from 2 weeks ago, but every time a song pops up, he tries to do something. So yeah, this is one of my favorite ones because it says one of his TSA parodies.
Whoa, for the longest time. Whoa, for the longest. If you book a ticket for a flight, stole your baggage and some of your rights, travel you're hoping, but first you'll get a groping, and you'll be waiting for the longest time. My last job, I guess it paid the bill. This pays more for using the same skill. At first we hound you, then we put our arms around you, and you'll be waiting for the longest time. Whoa,
I'm going to sing this in the airports now.
For the longest time. Whoa, for the longest. Supervisors try to sneak bombs by. Of 180 make it by. I like those chances. I forgot how nice your pants is. Maybe I'll check them for the longest time. I had other jobs at the start. I said to myself, just follow your heart. Now I know the woman that you are. I'll swap your magic cards and you'll miss your connection. Who could guess what consequence this brings? We have issues keeping nicer things. Our record's so bad, I think you ought to know this summer you'll be waiting for the longest time. Whoa, for the longest time. Whoa, for the longest time.
That's perfect.
He's got like six or
nice
he's got like
guidance.
5 or 6 songs going after the TSA.
I remember
He's
Neil
got a
Birch one
parody
time.
of-
He went to Europe right after he retired, and he came back and he had a bunch of gold and silver coins, and like he saw the TSA guy put him in his pocket, and he was
Wow.
like, "Hey, stop doing that!" And then the guy ran off, and the supervisor, then he got like Patriot acted. He got pulled over to the side and started getting questioned. And he's like, "Why are you getting testy with our agents?" And he's like, "Your agent stole $4,000 from me." Like, and he goes, "Why are you traveling with that much money?"
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So now it becomes like you shouldn't be traveling with that thing, and it's like, no,
Right.
don't try to turn this around.
It's legal.
Like,
There's no.
I think it's what are you supposed to claim anything more than 10,000
10,000,
or
I
something?
believe.
Yeah,
Yeah. In cash and how. Yeah.
right. Not 10,000.
I don't even get
worth
that.
of, right? Yeah. Now you shouldn't even need to do. I don't know that. I guess, but
Yeah. Okay, we got one more. This very real, not parody video. So
SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has recently
Hold on. I might need to refresh. It's been up for a while. I guess they couldn't handle it.
Right, yeah.
There we go.
CEO Elon Musk has recently confirmed a report that last year Musk blocked access to his Starlink satellite network in Crimea. Should there be repercussions for that?
Not at all, Jake. Elon Musk saved the world from a bigger war by refusing to accept Zelensky's demands.
Really? None of this concerns you?
Not at all. And I think you should be happy about it too, but you're not because you work for CNN, and CNN is a warmonger who profits more as the war escalates.
Oh my God.
So, you, Jake.
SpaceX, see.
That was a parody, but also real. So
Yeah. Well, because if I recall correctly, too, like they didn't pay the bill. Like they owed him like $5 million or something.
Well, with that story, Elon was saying that I believe his claim was that he's not using his system for anything that could be considered offensive war. So he's like, my understanding is he never turned it on in Crimea. He had it turned on like mainland Ukraine, and they were saying, no, turn it on in Crimea. And he's like, I'm not turning it on there because I know what you guys are going to do with it.
But the claim is that he turned it off. But apparently it was never on to begin with. He just refused to turn it on.
Okay. Well, there were later then I saw that there were parts of Ukraine where he shut it down. And Zelensky even started talking about it. The Ukrainian government was talking about it. And he was like, well, pay your bill and I'll turn it back on. That's how
right.
That
was a whole different story where he was trying to do that. But yeah, I remember that story. And that was a different situation than Crimea. So,
yeah.
And they did just hit Crimea with a cruise missile of some sort. Like they got a missile
Russia
from
that just
the
got
UK.
hit too.
Oh, that's what I just said.
You said Crimea.
Crimea.
It's part of Russia now.
Oh yeah. Okay. Excuse me.
I mean, technically it always has been, except for like 40, 50 years.
Well, what was it? I forget what queen it was now, but it was gifted to the Russians in like the 16th century, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Wasn't it Catherine the Great? Like basically put the naval base there, and it was there, and then transferred to Ukraine under Khrushchev, who was Ukrainian, because he needed to buy off the right political allies. But it was all the USSR anyway. And then when they broke up, they were like, well, I guess you can keep it. We're going to keep our, but like, let's negotiate this lease so we can keep our fleet with our only warm water all year port. And then, then we get involved and we're like, hey, let's steal the Russians' naval base and kick them out. And they're like, nope. Hey, let's overthrow the government, this new government. Let's kick them off of this lease that you've agreed to. And they said no. So it's a whole mess. But yeah, it goes back to like 1600s, 1700s at least.
And now we'll fund it for the longest time.
So we are at the end of our stories, by the way. So if you guys have anything else, send it to me. And if not, I guess we can just
No, I think we're good to call it. I don't really have anything else. I would just say, hey, lpgeorgia.com. We have the pub crawl coming up in Savannah on September 30th. As part of the Banish Big Brother project, there's an overarching surveillance state that's being installed, particularly in Savannah and other areas of Georgia. And that's one of the things is you're going to learn how through certain fashion items that you can confuse this technology. Just if you want your anonymity, just for whatever, it's none of our business. Why? That you get some tips, you meet some like-minded people, you get to hang out, have some beers. Should be a good time.
Yeah, go buy those T-shirts and stuff. Those look cool. Confuse the cameras. Screw with the AI.
I love it.
And you can go to lpgeorgia.com/pubcrawl to get tickets to the event.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's all I got. So stay tuned. We should have Jake back at the helm next week, I do believe.
Yeah, he's back from Montana.
Yeah. There we go. All right. Well, here we are signing off. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.